Greetings, you wonderfully curious explorer of knowledge, and welcome back to the deep dive. I was thinking about the ocean earlier, and it reminded me of a joke. Why don't scientists trust atoms?
Oh no, why?
Because they make up everything. Anyway, I'm Hori.
And I am Kimi. It's great to be diving in again with you and everyone listening, ready to explore another fascinating marine creature today.
Absolutely. And today, you've picked out something quite special for us, haven't you? The Galaxea fascicularis. It's a stony coral, right?
That's the one. It's got some really, remarkable features based on the info we have.
So our mission today, for everyone tuning in, is to get a good, solid picture of this coral, what it looks like, where it lives, and some of its more unusual habits.
Exactly. And it's quite captivating. Even its common names give you a hint. People call it octopus coral.
Octopus coral. Okay.
Or fluorescence grass coral. Sometimes even Galaxea coral.
Galaxy coral. No, that sounds cool. Conjures up quite an image.
Yeah.
So where would we actually find this Galaxy coral?
Well, it's pretty widespread, actually. You find Galaxea fascicularis in the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, and then right across large areas of the Indo-Pacific. It seems quite adaptable.
So a real tropical type. And within those areas, does it prefer a specific spot, like a particular depth or part of the reef?
Yeah, it generally likes the reef slopes, not too deep, usually between about 2 meters, that's what, 6.5 feet?
Right.
And down to maybe 15 meters, so around 49 feet. It needs that sunlight.
Okay, so relatively shallow, sunny spots. Makes sense. Now, looking about colonies, do they just grow bigger or do they change shape?
That's actually a less known, interesting point. They start out small, kind of like low domes on the reef.
Okay, dome-shaped at first.
But as they mature, they can become much more irregular, sort of massive, hummocky shapes, or even columns. And get this, they can grow really big.
How big are we talking?
Up to 5 meters across. That's about 16 feet.
Wow, 16 feet. That's enormous for a coral colony. Almost like a living boulder.
Exactly. It really shows how long they can live and grow.
Okay, so zooming in from that massive colony, what about the individual little animals, the polyps? What are they like?
Right. The polyps themselves are tiny, less than a centimeter across usually. And they live inside these little circular tube-like structures.
The corallites.
Corallites, okay. Made of
limestone, essentially,
Right.
the hard skeleton part. And inside each corallite, you've got these thin, ridge-like walls radiating inwards. They're called septa. Add strength,
Got it. Tiny architects building these sturdy little homes. Now, I heard there's something unusual about how they eat, something different from other corals.
Yes. This is quite fascinating. Unlike a lot of corals that feed mainly at night, Galaxea fascicularis polyps often extend their tentacles and feed during the day.
During the day. Really? That is unusual.
It is, and when all those tentacles are out, they can completely cover the coral skeleton. So it looks totally different depending on whether it's feeding or not.
Huh. I can imagine. So speaking of looks, what about color? Are they vibrant? They can be quite varied. The main colony color ranges from green or gray sometimes to a reddish brown.
Okay.
But here's a fun fact. The tentacles are often a different contrasting color. And very often they have these bright white tips.
Contrasting colors and white tips. That must look pretty striking underwater.
Definitely. Adds a lot of visual appeal.
But I think our sources mentioned a specific photo.
Yeah.
Right, from a particular place.
That's right. The colony featured in some of the material we looked at was photographed in the Red Sea, off the coast of Egypt specifically.
A real-world example. Nice.
Gives you a concrete image of it in its natural home.
Okay, so let's quickly recap. We've got Galaxea fascicularis, also known as octopus, fluorescence grass, or Galaxy coral, found widely across the Indo-Pacific and Red Sea, typically on shallow reef slopes down to about 15 meters.
Right.
Starts as a dome, but can grow into huge irregular colonies up to 5 meters wide.
Which is pretty amazing.
Tiny polyps in limestone corallites with internal septa. And they have that unusual daytime feeding habit, extending tentacles that can hide the skeleton.
Don't forget the colors.
Right. Varied colors. Green, gray, reddish brown, often with those contrasting tentacles, frequently tipped in white, like the one seen off Egypt.
You've summed it up perfectly. It's quite a coral.
It really is. And considering, how widespread it is living in all these different spots, it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Wonder what?
Well, what evolutionary edge does it get from feeding during the day? And why the variations in color? Is it camouflage or maybe something to do with sunlight?
That's a great question to ponder. The advantages of those specific traits in different environments. Definitely food for thought.
Absolutely. Something for our listeners to think about, too. Well, this has been truly illuminating. Thanks for guiding us through the world of the galaxy coral.
My pleasure. Always fascinating to explore these details.
And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep that curiosity alive.